Thank you so much, Rosemarie. You finished 3 minutes early, which means a couple minutes more for questions, which is good. The comment about the power of photos and stories, again, it's a theme that's coming through, and I think also having a good name helps. So yesterday we heard best pet and foster names. My favourite was Karen from accounting. I think that's a great name for a cat or dog, whoever that was. One of my favourite cat names was Mr. Fluff Party as well, which was a nice one. So I'll get our speakers to come up and we'll have some questions via Slido. And while we're getting that set up as well, just a couple of reminders. There is a board in the pre-conference area that is for you to put your, new ideas about how we can save more lives and change this industry for the better. There's a lot of people who've been posting already, so don't miss out on being part of this. And if you do post, remember to put your name on the back of the post-it note for your chance to win an Endota Spa voucher. And also, don't forget, this evening is the Jet Pets Companion Animal Rescue Awards complimentary reception, so please come and join everyone tonight for that. And in the meantime, we've got a couple of questions for our speakers now. So, Kristen, for you, when an animal arrives at your shelter, how long is it there before it sees a vet on average?
It depends on the animal. We triage like an emergency vet, so 25% of the pets that come in are urgent or critical medical needs. Some pets never see a vet. They only see a technician to get their vaccines, and then they're spayed and neutered, but it really just depends on the situation. We see the most critical pets first.
Thank you. And with temporary or emergency boarding, this one's also for you, for the community, what happens when the owner doesn't reclaim or contact the shelter once their contract ends?
Yeah, so we try to manage expectations. That's a really good question. So like if we're boarding a pet for someone and they don't come back, that does happen because these people are often in crisis. What we try to do is build a safety net for the pet. So at the time they sign the contract, we ask about other people who may be able to take the pet. And then in the contract, it says that at the end of the period, the custody reverts to the shelter. So we plan ahead for that. And it does happen somewhere between 10 and 20% of the time.
Thank you. Rosemarie, question for you. Do you require kittens to be seen by a vet prior to going to foster in case there's a hidden medical concern with the kitten?
So our organization doesn't take in or adopt out animals, so we don't have a requirement such as that. Again, we all foster for our local organizations individually, and that's really an option and a protocol that each organization has to decide for themselves. Many organizations don't have a full-time vet on staff, so having a skilled veterinary nurse, having even a skilled, an animal caretaker be able to look at them. There will always be things that we can't see in kittens that may catch up with them later. Certainly, if you can get the kitten to see a veterinarian, that would be great, but that's just unfortunately not a possibility for a lot of organizations for funding-wise or for just that person being available.
Yeah, and you're talking about fading kitten syndrome shortly, I believe.
Yes, tomorrow morning, fading kitten syndrome.
Yeah.
One of my favorite.
Okay, so another question for you, Rosemarie. Did you ever experience unsocialized kittens in a nursery, and what protocols did you have in place for them, i.e. flighty, biting 7-week-olds?
So again, National Kitten Coalition doesn't run a nursery, but in my previous experience at shelters and the one shelter that we had with a kitten nursery, and actually I should have mentioned that. So back in the day, this was almost 20 years ago, at that kitten nursery it was not neonatal kittens needing bottle feeding because the foster program was great and they were able to go out to foster, but the kitten nursery was the 4 to 6 week old or 4 to 8 week olds there. So yes, there were unsocialized kittens in the kitten nursery and they're just adorable, even though they hiss, and even a 1-day-old newborn. I'll never forget just being called in, and there was a 1-day newborn, and it was sitting with its mama, and it had its eyes closed, and it would go. So it was the cutest thing. So yes, we're going to talk about taming tiny tigers tomorrow, and so there are some things we can do to help socialize those kittens, and more than we can talk about actually in just a Q&A session here.
I love that expression, teeny tiny tigers. Okay, Jessica, nice question for you. How do you nudge people into desexing their pets, particularly those men, as well as people who want to backyard breed their pet?
Those are two very, very big conversations. And certainly it is about doing some of the underlying reasons. So my discussion this afternoon, I'll walk you through the kind of process, as it were. The short version is you need to understand the barrier. If we're not doing the kind of proper behaviour change and we're just doing a nudge, then it's really about understanding the community and what's going to work. So if you go back to, the neo-Nazi march example, you have to understand what you're trying to change in order to make that choice more appealing than the choice they've already made to not desex. So obviously these are the sorts of things that if you need help in your organisation, I can come and we workshop some of your biggest challenges, and we try to come up with sort of solutions that are specific to your biggest challenges and your big audiences, because it's not really doable in a Q&A right here. It's a pretty big question.
We're all about the big questions here. So another one, Kristen, if an animal is available for adoption the day they come in, how do you know they're healthy? How do owners know what they are committing to medically?
So the pets are available for pre-adoption right as soon as they come in. So if it's a fluffy, healthy, young dog, it's going to be claimed immediately. But that doesn't mean that the animal isn't going to get follow-up care. So the pet has to stay in the shelter throughout the stray period. And it still has to be desexed. It still has to be vaccinated. But what it means is that the animal's attached to someone immediately. And so what that does is it gets those easy pets out faster, because what happens is they come off their stray hold, they go immediately to spay or neuter and complete whatever medical work they have to do, and then they go home. And when they go home, we do additional counseling with the owner. I saw another question pop up about our return rate. Our return rate is on par with the national average. It really depends on the group of animals, and I think we need to stop asking that question that way, because return rate depends on group of animals and how challenging it is. So we look at return rates for each group of animals, but we also celebrate return rates because they're a learning opportunity for us. And so our return rate's not any higher than anyone's, but we are encourage people to return animals, and then we make sure to send them out the door with another pet that's more appropriate for their family if that first pet didn't work.
Okay, and sorry, the questions are just live updating as we speak. So have you had the situation where a pre-adopted animal was reclaimed, and how did you deal with the situation with the new adopter?
So pre-adopted animals are reclaimed. Our rate of reclaim is 15% for dogs and 1% for cats. It does happen, but we build it into the contract. So if you're going to come and you're going to pre-adopt my fluffy, cute terrier, we're going to tell you there's a 15% chance the owner will come forward. And in the contract, you pay the deposit. Our adoption fee is only $50. It's very low. The deposit is as well. You pay that deposit. If the pet gets reclaimed, we call you, and we ask you if you want your deposit returned or if you'd like to apply it to a new pet. So it's just managing expectations for people, and we have never had a situation where someone gets upset because we tell them up front what the deal is.
Great. And Jessica, do you have a set script or guidelines available to nudge people for steering them to suitable adoption of animals that staff can incorporate?
Absolutely. Again, depends on what you're trying to adopt. So one of my favourite things that we trialled in Darwin was we had a cat called Frankie that we tried for a very long time to adopt. It had cat flu. It was kind of scungy, and it kind of, even after recovering, had some issues. And we were struggling to adopt, so we brainstormed which of our nudge opportunities we could use to try to get Frankie adopted. And what we would do whenever anybody that looked like a cat kind of person would walk in the door, we'd go, "Oh, you're here to see Frankie. Oh, I thought you were going to miss out. Quickly." And so they'd be like, "No, I wasn't, but now I'm worried I'm going to miss out on Frankie." And it took us, after we decided to do this, half a day we got Frankie adopted. And so then every day we'd just pick a different animal. "Oh my gosh, you're here to see Grumpy. Oh wow, I thought you weren't going to make it in time." And then Grumpy would go. So you've got these really, and so again, it's creating scarcity where there is none. So those are they're just silly little ideas, but those sorts of things, how you talk about cat flu cats, for example, is a really important thing. Rather than talking about, oh, they've got some medical issues, so just so you know, we need to talk about, these guys are fighters. They're really unique. They were only 2 days old and they fought off cat flu. Like, they're really going to fit with your family. You know, this works really great for you've got tradies coming in that haven't really considered a kitten. How you frame that to them, it's not all bad. It's how unique this thing is. Look at the story you get to tell your mates about what a survivor your kitten is. So it really, again, just like everything else, it really depends on your situation, what you're trying to adopt, what your focus is, what person walks through the door, how you might interact with them best. But it's just about keeping how people's brains work in your mind. Now, you be totally upfront and honest. You never adopt a cat flu without having the conversation about what cat flu is. But how you choose to approach each individual is different depending on what you're trying to achieve from them.
Thank you. We're going to wrap it up there because we're about to have morning tea, but I have a couple of questions, quiz questions, and our speakers, please correct me if I've made up the wrong questions and answers, but I base them on your talks. So again, for the people who weren't here yesterday, the Slido thing works for questions, but we have to go analog for the quiz questions, and I am visually impaired quite extremely, and getting older, so I'm getting kind of deaf as well. It's just all falling apart here. But what I need you to do, if you think you know the answer, is to jump up and shout and be pretty demonstrative. Don't yell out the answer, okay? Because other people copy off you. We learned this yesterday. So just let us know you're there, and we'll try to work out who got up first, and then you can have a chance to answer the questions. So Kristen talked about the Keeping Families Together Fund. What does it fund? Yes? 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 Can someone help her out? Food, is that right? Are you going to pay that? Excellent. And the other thing was I got behaviour training, modification, that kind of thing. Excellent. So Nell, this young lady gets a prize. Excellent. All right, next question. I can't read my own handwriting. This is also why I'm falling apart here. What was the name of the cat who rescued the kittens from the fire? This is anarchy again. Oh my gosh. Okay, you get a prize, but next time, try to contain yourself a little more. Thank you. Okay, so now this young lady gets a prize as well. All right. Trickier question. I like to throw a concept in. Just tell us who you are only, and then the answer afterwards. Who can explain loss aversion? Yes, but that's okay. We're both getting old. All right. Explain it, Aileen. Eileen, oh my gosh, sorry. Is that right? Perfect. Excellent. All right. So Eileen gets a prize. And all right. Now this one I know heaps of people are going to know the answer to, so don't yell it out. Just tell us who you are. What age can kittens regulate their own body temperature? Yep. Are we happy with that? Yep. Excellent. So the Maneki Neko team get a prize. That was a cooperative. Okay. I like you guys. All right. So we've got. Okay, that's beautiful. One more question. Where can you find the manual launching and operating a successful kitten nursery? Yes, excellent. So kittencoalition.org. All right, so this young lady gets a prize as well. Wonderful. If you'd like to go and enjoy morning tea, we'll see you back here at 10:30. Thank you, everyone.